Hi, welcome to the Life of a Latina Engineer. In this week's video, we're gonna talk about what to expect in engineering school. Some of the things we're gonna cover is what are the engineering types and how this makes your experience different, what to expect from classes and topics that you will learn during school, what is the workload expected from an engineering degree, and how likely you are to finish in 4 years compared to other majors, how is the engineering environment for students, how do the classmates interact, and lastly, we'll cover a little bit about what to expect from your professors. So you're at high school and you're into engineering school, but what really should you be expecting from engineering? Or maybe you start college and you haven't picked an engineering type yet. How do you make the decision to know which one is the right one for you? If you have picked one, do you know what classes make up this major? Do you have an idea what you want to focus on? These are important things to know to make sense whether you will fully enjoy this degree or not. While engineering has a really good reputation of being a successful career with good pay just straight out of college, it is important that you understand each of the engineering types so that you can pick the one that is best suited for you. Not all engineering types are the same, so you have to really understand what each one focuses on. One example is picking electrical engineering versus mechanical engineering. They are completely opposite worlds. You might have one or two classes that are the same for both majors, but the rest of the classes are completely different. They both base on physics principles, but they base on different types of principles which will grow far apart as you get deeper into your degree. Mechanical engineering, for example, has classes such as design, you learn how to use CAD, you learn about thermodynamics and fluids. While on the other hand, if you go for electrical engineering, you will see more of circuits and feedback systems. And this is also for other types such as biomedical engineering, which you can see some of these basic engineering classes, but you will see also more biology classes and how to implement, for example, if you're doing a mechanical emphasis on biomedicine, how to implement those mechanical concepts into something that is more for the body. The second thing we're going to cover is classes and topics. So what should you expect from engineering school? Your basic classes for engineering are the fundamental blocks from STEM. So you will learn a lot about science and math. So be ready to take Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, and differential equations. The good thing about this is that if you want to, you can get a math minor. Most of the schools only require 1 or 2 extra math classes in order for you to get that. As far as science, you will take chemistry, you will take biology, you will take physics. And this would also depend on which type of engineering you pick. If you pick biomedical engineering, you will be taking more biology classes than your typical engineer. But this will compensate for other classes later that you might not have to take, the same as someone else, for example, an electrical engineer. On the other hand, if you're a chemical engineer, you will take more chemistry classes and maybe not as many physics classes. Now, if you're a mechanical or an electrical, you might have to take more physics classes. In my case, I only had to take Physics 1 and Physics 2, and I was a mechanical engineer. But for electrical engineers at NIU, the school that I study, engineers had to take Physics 1, Physics 2, and Physics 3. So that was 3 semesters of physics. So if you're looking into engineering, you will be taking a ton of those. Now, what is a workload that you should be expected from engineering? While your typical college degree takes you about 4 years, engineers tend to take longer than those 4 years. In my case, I took 5 years, I took 2 at a community college and 3 at a university. However, my last semester was only made up of 2 classes and I was able to work part-time. But this is not the case for everyone. Some people actually take 4 years to finish, some might take 5 like it was my case, some might take 8, some even take 10, and I've also known people that only take 3 years to finish their engineering degree. So it all depends on the workload that you want to have and how you're accumulating your credits and if you're able to handle that without compromising your learning. Because in engineering, it is really important that you actually understand what you're learning in the classroom and not as much as having the highest grade. Because later when you start your engineering job, if you pass your classes with all A's, but you didn't really get to learn everything, it won't help you later on. So be sure to focus on what you're learning rather than having the perfect scores. Another thing that I wanted to point out here that might actually need its own video is that exams do not represent everything that you know. And I know I've had it happen to me. I know when I've gone into taking a test and I felt like I knew everything, and then I came back with less than a 50% score because the questions were really specific, or the questions focused on something completely different, or might have one or two things that just completely throw you off during the exam. So definitely don't feel like all those test grades or homework scores are the ones that define how much you know, because if you spend your time learning, that will be what will get you far once you're done. So how many credits per semester, and how do you know what is the right balance? For schools that divide their classes into semesters, the typical course load is about 15 credit hours per semester. Under 12 credit hours is considered less than full-time, and over 19 is really overloading. And you might actually not be able to take more than that unless you get approval from the department. Now, how does this translate into classes? A typical college class is worth about 3 credit hours. So if you think about it, you have 15 credit hours per semester divided by 3, you get about 5 classes per semester. However, for some engineering classes, since they might take more lecture hours during the week or just the content is more difficult, they can be worth more. For example, my physics class was worth 4 credit hours, but I know in other schools it's worth up to 5 credit hours. So it all depends on the school you go to, and that would also change the amount of classes that you might want to take per semester. So if your physics class is already taking 4 to 5 credit hours, you might not take the 5 classes that you expected, and you might be taking actually 4 or 3. Another thing to consider is that if you're working a part-time job. If you're working a part-time job, then the recommended amount of hours to work per week is only 12 working hours. And I know what you're thinking, there is very little, but I will highly recommend that you stick to that number, especially if you're reaching towards the more heavy loaded classes, or you're taking more than the 15 and you're going more into the 17 credit hours per semester. Because if you don't, then you'll be overloading yourself and you're going to be exhausted by the end of the semester. And now imagine doing that every single semester. You get to a routine where you're just surviving semester by semester, and that doesn't help you actually absorb and learn the content properly. Now, let's move into your classmates. What should you be expecting from engineering classmates? What is environment? So as we all know, there is a typical stereotype that engineers are introverts, that they're quiet, that they keep to themselves. And that is pretty much true in school. While not every single engineer is the same way, you will have engineers that are really outgoing, that are always chatting, that are talking to everyone. You will have a mix of students, but the majority will always be a little bit more reserved. So it will be harder to have all these students interacting with each other and trying to work together. So you might actually have to go out of your comfort zone and have to go out there and try to make the friendships, try to talk first to someone else to make those valuable friendships that will help you out later in your career. Not only will you meet people that might have similar interests, but you will have that group of people that would understand what you're going through, that you might be able to complain about teachers together or about how much homework you have, but you might also work on homework together or study before a test. So there's definitely different ways that you can benefit from having these friendships. If you're a female engineer, be sure to reach out to all the other females engineers in your classroom, because this is really important. It will make you feel less lonely through your career, but don't just stick to talking to the other females in the classroom. Make sure that you befriend everyone that you can. Another thing that I've noticed, especially if you're a female in engineering, is that the stats of women are different on different types. I am not saying by any means that looking for an engineering degree that has more females should be the one that you should go for, but it does make a difference when you're going in classes. So if you pick, for example, mechanical engineering, it is one of the careers that is more dominated by men, where you might see less women taking the classes because it's considered more of a manly career because of the mechanics behind it. While on the other hand, for example, with industrial engineering, the numbers might be a little bit higher. So that would also help a lot in the environment. In my case, since I did mechanical engineering, I find that the environment was a little bit too hostile and it was difficult to get along with my classmates because they weren't willing to work with me for the beginning of my career. But I've heard many different experiences from many different engineers, from different genders, different ethnicities and backgrounds. So while the numbers are there, they don't mean that your experience will be the same. And it also depends where you go to school to. So definitely your experience will be unique no matter how much you try to compare it to others, because it will be your major, it will be at the school that you select, and it will be what you make out of it. So while it might not easily come to you because not everybody is out there trying to find other people to talk to, if you take the time to do it, you can do it too. Lastly, what to expect from professors in your engineering school. Now, you might be a freshman, or you might be on your first 2 years, or you might haven't even started college, and you might feel terrified of what your professors are gonna do, how strict they're gonna be, how smart they're gonna be, and how dumb you might feel by asking questions that you might think are dumb or that everybody else is gonna know. But don't feel that way by any means. College professors, especially engineering professors, are the biggest nerds that you will meet. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in a way that they know the content they're teaching and they're passionate about that content. So if you ask a question, whether it is in the classroom or is in their office hours, they will be ecstatic to help you out, and they will even help you with different things. They might go over problems that they might not have gone over in lecture just to help you out, because they see that you're putting the hard work, you're curious, and you want to learn. And not only that, besides from being able to help you in the content that you might not understand, you might be able to develop friendships where you talk about other topics that relate to engineering, that you both might share a passion. They might be the faculty advisors for some of the clubs that you might be interested in joining as part of the engineering department. And from there, you can also find opportunities where they can recommend you to either an internship, job opportunities, research opportunities while you're still an undergrad, and this is great if you want to do a master's degree or a PhD. In my time in college, I never had a negative experience from a professor. They were always willing to help, especially if they knew or you were able to show them that you were there to learn and that you wanted to learn. Because that's what they do for a living. They work to teach you to make the new generation of engineers. So definitely they're a big resource, and you should definitely take advantage of all the time that you get to ask questions, to talk to them, and to build a friendship with them. And always remember that where you are right now, they were there too, so they will understand. If you're stuck in a problem that you don't understand, if you might feel like you're not gonna make it through class, always reach out to them and let them know what's going on. They will always be willing to help you out. So now that you know what to expect from engineering school, are you ready? If you like this video and you want to see more like this, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps me know that you like this video, that you like this type of content, and that you want to see more. And if you don't want to miss the next video, be sure to subscribe and hit the little notification bell so that you get a notification every time I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!